All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive into a theological idea that totally flips a story you think you know. And honestly, it might just change how you see the world, period.
So, let's start with this. This is the big question we're tackling today, and it's a perspective that really challenges centuries of assumptions we've held about the traditional creation story.
So where does this idea come from? Well, it's from the work of a really influential German theologian, Dorothee Sölle. And just to be clear, our goal here isn't to convince you of any one belief system. It's really about unpacking a fascinating concept that has, believe it or not, some seriously practical, real-world implication.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. Let's rethink the one thing we're all supposedly made of: dust.
You know, on one hand, you've got the traditional view: being made from dust means we're weak, maybe even worthless, totally separate from God. But Sölle's perspective, it flips that completely on its head. For her, dust isn't about being worthless. It's about being earth. It means we're profoundly, deeply connected to a living planet. We're part of it.
And you know, this whole new way of thinking about dust, it also leads to a pretty radical new way of thinking about the body. To really get this, we have to look at two different concepts, one coming from German and the other from Greek.
First, you have what's called Körper in German, or sarx in Greek. Now, this is probably how most of us think about the body, right? It's a physical object, a machine. It's the thing doctors operate on, the collection of parts we try to keep running. It's a body that you have.
But then, you've got this other concept, Leib in German, or soma in Greek. And this is a total game changer. This isn't the body as something you have, it's the body you are. It's your entire lived, breathing experience. So in this view, your body isn't some temporary prison for your soul. No way. It is your living, feeling, whole self.
Okay, so if we are a living part of a living world, what does that mean for God's role in all of this? How does that change the picture?
Well, for starters, this theology completely throws out that old idea of a distant clockmaker God. You know, the God who just built the world, wound it up like a clock, and then just walked away. Instead, creation is seen as this continuous, ongoing, relational process.
And if creation is a relationship, then God's power isn't what you might think. It's not about brute force. The difference really comes alive when you look at these two different Greek words for power. This really hits the nail on the head. On one side, you've got exousia. That's dominating coercive power. Think of a king demanding obedience. But Sölle's theology focuses on something totally different: dunamis. This is more like influential, empowering ability. It's the persuasive power of love that makes you want to act. So it's not power over the world, but power with and through it. Huge difference.
You know, a great way to think about it is the potter and the clay. If a piece of clay gets messed up, the potter doesn't just smash it and throw it away, right? No. They patiently, persistently work with it. They guide it, they persuade it back toward what it could be. It's a relationship of patient engagement, not a dictatorship.
So if God is a partner, not a dictator, what does that make us? This is where the idea completely reframes our whole purpose. Right, what does it even mean to be made in the image of God? The traditional view often sees it as a static thing, like a label stamped on us. But in Sölle's view, it's not a label at all. It's a job description. It's an active, ongoing call to be co-creators, to actually participate in God's unfinished work of creation.
But okay, co-creator, that sounds a little abstract, doesn't it? Like, what are we actually supposed to do? Well, Sölle makes this super concrete. She points to a very specific, very powerful passage from the book of Isaiah. And here's the work. This is the key. Being a co-creator isn't some big mystical idea. It's a practical to-do list for justice and for love. The job is to free people who are oppressed, to feed the hungry, to house the homeless, clothe the naked, and to not turn away from your own people, your own kin.
And all of this leads to another huge idea, one that completely redefines what it means to be holy. Forget about staying pure and separate. This is about getting your hands dirty.
Because in this way of thinking, holiness has nothing to do with being separate from the world, untouched by the mess of life. Nope, it's the total opposite.
Holiness is found in creative, loving engagement with the world.
So, real sacredness, according to this argument, is found by following the example of Jesus, not by escaping the world, but by diving right into its suffering. It's about standing with people who are in pain and working to change the things that cause that pain. It really is about getting your hands dirty.
Okay, so I know this might all sound like some really high-level theology, but this framework has incredibly direct and, frankly, urgent things to say about the world we live in today.
I mean, just think about it for a second. If the Earth isn't just a resource for us to exploit, but a sacred living body that we're a part of, well, then the climate crisis isn't just a policy problem, it's a sin against a living creation. Our purpose becomes about actively fighting against social and economic injustice, and all of our capacity for creativity, for love, that's seen as a reflection of the divine working right through us.
So what this perspective really does is transform faith from just a set of beliefs you hold into an active, dynamic call to get involved. And it leaves us with this one really powerful question. If creation isn't some finished event in the distant past, but an ongoing process that's happening right here, right now, what part are you going to play?